All right. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of The Kingdom of the Kael Isles. Yes, this is my custom D&D campaign where the people below me were the ones that when I said, hey, let me take this character that you've lovingly created and made this beautiful backstory for and just throw them to the wolves randomly, and they went, oh, that sounds fun. We will be having
I
them
wanted to
sent
send my backstory for
for
a second.
psychological testing later. Um, however, this is my custom campaign setting. Everything here is made up out of my own head because I'm demented in that particular way. To kind of bring you guys up on the story, the group itself has joined a rebellion against the Aladrin Magocracy, which is currently kind of overtaking the world and either enslaving or killing every other non-Aladrin race in the entirety of the kingdom. For a long time, for hundreds of years, they've ruled, and the only people that have been enslaved have been the Wood Elves, because they have this thing with elves. You know, they feel that they're superior. But recently, all of that changed. They are just going on this mass destructive crusade, and so these guys have joined a resistance to fight that, and they found some allies along the way, and they found some different things. And one of the things that they have found is that one of their members is technically has been chosen by one of the gods of the pantheon named the Dark Lady. And a quest he has been given is, in order for him to be a true chosen of the gods, he needs to have a chosen weapon. It's a very special weapon. It has to be forged by a very special person whose entire purpose in life is to forge the weapons of the gods. And they were able to find this dude in a coliseum of all places. The other thing is Fade had to find the shards of the previous weapon to be forged into his new weapon, which they were able to do. They found out some really interesting things, things that contradict what they've been told their entire lives. The Eladrin, being the ruling body, has kind of controlled history. They're starting to realize that the history that the Eladrin have given them may not be entirely accurate. They found some orcish ruins, and some indications that the orcs at one time had at least one kind of temple that they had built that showed very advanced craftsmanship and things like that. And according to popular belief, orcs are just barely above dogs as far as smarts. And for thousands of years have just been, running around pillaging and destroying things. So everybody's starting to question everything. Fate has had a conversation with the man who has accepted his place as the smith of the gods, and he's kind of explained a little bit more about cosmically what's going on. And he knows now that the ceremony to forge his weapon will be a lot more than just a smith banging a hammer on an anvil a couple of times. It's going to be very taxing on him, and he will require the support of his friends in order to survive this ordeal. So that is where we are going to start. I believe last week we ended, or not last week, a couple weeks ago, we ended right after Fate had kind of been given the news of this is how everything is going to work. So at this point, it's fairly late in the day, getting close to evening time, and the serrated death your smith, has said that you guys have to start tomorrow morning. Is the time that these happen because this needs to happen soon. So Avok and Kata had been wandering over to the forge and had arrived as Fade was exiting this kind of back room, kind of living quarters for the Serrated Deaths. He's become kind of the smith for the whole village you guys have built up here, which is becoming in itself its own kind of little city. The druids have used their ability to grow trees and plants at very quick rates to make housing and things like that, not just like cutting down planks, but actually growing tree houses and things like that. And you know, he's smithing all these weapons and things, and they're arming people, and they're getting ready to fight, to your knowledge, the most powerful army in the world. They conquered the world except for this little tiny island in the south. So you guys are up against something pretty big. So, Fade, you are walking out of the room into the very, very hot smith. The area the island is located in, the little cove that you guys call home is located, is tropical in nature anyways. So it's normally a little bit warm. Being in the smith, near the forge and everything, it is stiflingly hot in here. It's not a very pleasant place to be. And you, from your experience of hearing basically what was engraved on the walls in the Dwarven City, where you found the Hammer of the Gods, basically hearing that mural kind of described to you was a bit of an ordeal as well. So you're already kind of sweating pretty heavily. You come out to Kata and Avok just kind of coming in. Avok had been having some conversations with old One Eye about trying to figure out where Fade was and everything. And so now you guys are all in this very, very hot forge. What would you like to do?
Well, I'm kind of just wipe my brow and glance out, see everybody else. And on my way out, I will pick up the bundle with the new armor and just kind of be holding it. And I will, guys, you want to head to our rooms? We need to have a talk.
Okay.
Sure.
And unlike normal, when I would have just not waited for Avok's answer and walked away, I waited till he said something, and now I will just to our rooms. And I believe we had like a sitting room, right, in between, like a common room.
You did. Now that you guys have come back, because you guys are kind of a big deal here. Give me a couple seconds.
People know us.
There we go. I just wanted to see if I can get this to work a little better.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Because you guys are kind of a big deal, your lodging has improved a little bit to where you guys don't have just like a little room and then a sitting area. You guys have kind of a home. Like each one of you has a fairly substantial room now that you can keep your personal effects in and things like that. You have kind of a common area for just you guys where your 4 rooms connect, and then there's kind of a common area for like in like a foyer or something like that, or a sitting room where if other people were to come in, you could have conversations with there. There's some literally homegrown furniture in there, some couches and tables and things like that. You guys have a kitchen in your common room, so if you ever did want to try and prepare meals, you could. So yeah, you guys can either be
Okay.
in the sitting room or your little more private common room.
I will ask. Yeah, once we enter, I'm gonna lock the door and or latch the door and ask that we go to the back. And if you guys will sit down and kind of impart to you what's going on here. Just kind of motion to the seats and kind of throw my armor down, not really caring about it, and plopping down.
Both Avok and Kata, you notice as he tosses it down. I'm assuming you were carrying it in some sort of a bag or something.
Yeah, just I basically consider like you just take the breastplate, shove it all in, and
Yeah.
carry it like a
So
bundle.
you guys do notice a new set of armor in the bag, and the part that you can see is there is a tabard emblazoned with the symbol of the Dark Lady, kind of peeking out of the bag there. And the armor itself, compared to what he's wearing right now, or what he has been wearing, which was improved by Old One Eye. This is miles ahead. Very, very nice, custom crafted for him. So
And it's like I don't care about it.
yeah, so that'll tell you something. So Faye
So,
comes in, he sits down.
Pop down, kind of look at everybody, and so I pull out the little silver token that we got from the what was it, the platinum dagger back when we started this nonsense, and I look at it and I toss it to Avok and remember this?
As you pull it out of your pocket, again you notice not only does it feel warm, it almost feels like the heat itself is kind of almost pulsing. You know, it gets warmer and then a little bit colder, then a little bit warmer, but it's noticeable.
I will once Avok has it, I will cast a spell. I'm going to cast a spell magic on it.
Okay. Make me a spell attack roll.
27.
Okay. As you sit there focusing on this item, you get the idea that Dispel Magic is designed to dispel spells, not to disenchant magic items and things like that. And you think that the enchantment that's been put on this stone is a little bit more than you have the ability to remove. So before even casting it, you kind of look at this and you're like, maybe not.
Okay. Then I tell him I tried to, just now, Avok, I tried to eliminate the presence of the Eladrin. They're some sort of a tag, but there's something with it. I've got a feeling that it wasn't just a token. I think maybe they've been keeping tabs on us somehow. We need to get rid of that.
Really?
I can't stop it. I can't disenchant it. I just tried it.
Fade. Just so you know, you're the only one who still has this. I chucked mine up a long time ago.
I know, and
You should have done the damn same.
I should have.
Great. Avok chucks it back at him. Oh, we are going to
Avok, as you're holding it, you notice the same thing that Fade noticed. The stone itself is warm to the touch, and the temperature changes enough to be noticeable, not enough to be uncomfortable or anything, but it's kind of like pulsing. The heat in it is pulsing.
Avok's dealt with Elijah enough to have a good idea as to what that means. So this is why I'm like, This is why he chucked his so long ago. This was most definitely a tag. Why Faye never chucked his, fuck all knows.
Got no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it looks as they kind of toss the stone back and forth. You see it. It's a small, like silver dollar size stone, probably about 3 times as thick, and in it is carved the image of a dagger. And while you've never seen, what was it?
I thought it was a rapier.
The
guy who
Could have been a dagger. The daggers gave those to us, and then we spoke with Aethwin, who was a rapier.
Yeah.
Okay.
The stones themselves had the image of a dagger in it. That's one of the reasons why everyone reacted so interestingly when you first started showing those around. Because rapiers are, high-end politicians. Daggers, nobody knows who the hell they are. They just know that they're allowed to command anybody except a rapier. And kind of really don't have someone that tells them, no, you're not allowed to do that. So, yeah, when you show something that has a symbol of a dagger on it in platinum to any Eladrin, they're going to go, whatever it was I did to you, I apologize. I'm sure you're a lovely person. So anyway.
It pretty much worked that way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I'm going to take the coin, go back into, open my room, toss it in there, and cast silence on the room.
Okay.
So that what I'm about to say to these guys. So close the door, come back out.
So you guys notice that when he goes in there, you hear him muttering for a second and then absolutely nothing. And you see him open the door and the door makes no sound. And he closes the door and the door makes no sound. And then he gets just slightly past it and starts talking again. It's kind of a weird experience.
I would have obviously cast it to the back of the room so that it would not affect
But
us
it's
out here.
enough to reach the door.
Sure. All right, so
It's a 20-foot radius. It's a big spell.
So I sit back down and I look at Kata and I look at Avok and
Yep, people outside trying to talk. They can't talk anymore. Sorry, go on.
Okay. I've been holding on to that because we saw the sway it had and we were going to the arena. I thought maybe it could be a way for us to get out, to get past them too. But past that now, obviously. So it will be a priority to get rid of that for me. But for now, I think I look at Avok and say, I mean, that little coin is how I met you. And in a whirlwind of fuck all, what, like, we don't really know each other. What are you here for? I mean, are you just trying to survive this, or do you have a purpose?
I have a sudden interest.
Because I might not be around for much longer after tomorrow.
What you mean?
I look at Kata and I kind of reach out my hand to see if she'll hold it just for a second.
I do.
You have been nothing but a kind force since we've met you, and nice getting to know you a little bit. But tomorrow, I'm going to embark on something, and to put it plainly, I might die. There's a pretty large chance of it. And I've asked you for a lot so far just to get these stupid. But the reason is the Dark Lady, and I point to the tabard on my armor.
Mm-hmm.
She needs power in this world, and I'm the one to do it, to bring it. You know me. bit of an asshole, but I'm not a bad guy.
Hmm.
And I think that if I can do some good, and I look around this island, this is all we have left. I mean, really, I want that to change. So tomorrow during the ceremony that's going to happen at the forge, I will need both of your help to not only help me, but to help Serena Death get through it, because it could be fatal for one or both of us. You're both gonna be in danger as well. I don't know what's coming. Like, this is something that hasn't been done in 1,000 years. Don't know. All I can say is the bare bones of it is I get a weapon that is infused with God's power. Someone who is trying to help the world. And I mean that's it. That there's nothing else to it. It comes down to I get this, I can do good. But I can't do it without you guys. And I look at Avok back in the arena in the Undercity. When I was essentially getting my powers back, I lost you in a vision and saved you. And it made me realize that you guys are all I have left, because the moment I became an outlaw, Hell family, everyone I know, they've either been killed or are in torment right now. So you guys are my only friends. I hope you can call me that. And just kind of look at the floor.
You are a jerk, but you know, we would do what we can to help you.
Still looking at the ground. Thank you.
You are without a doubt a major pain in my ass half the time. But we've been through this since the beginning. And I lost a lot of friends a long time ago. I hate to lose more.
With that, I kind of look up at him and I don't say anything, just kind of nod, and I say, I'm going to do something now that I don't think anyone outside of a cleric has seen. So please just don't freak out. We'll cast the ritual commune, which should hopefully allow me contact to either my deity or ally or servant of, to ask 3 questions.
Hold, please, because that was not a spell I was expecting you to cast. That is a very high-level spell.
This is life or death. I'm gonna spend it.
Oh, yeah.
5th level?
Yep.
Yeah. And he's doing his ritual, which means no spell slot expended.
All right, so casting it as a ritual is slightly different than just invoking the magic itself. One of the things that you've noticed recently is since you paid your penance way back in the underground city, you noticed that you had regained your power, but every day that passed, you could feel the connection, because you, being a cleric, you channel energy through yourself. It's not your own divine power. It is channeled through you, and as you become a greater and greater cleric, you can channel more energy. And so the energy is still being channeled, but the connection to whatever has been channeling through you, which is what you call the Dark Lady, has been getting weaker and weaker. And so now you're getting to the point where casting rituals and things like that are becoming physically taxing on you, because instead of just channeling the power, you actually have to almost draw it out into you in order for it to channel. So the ritual version
Speaking
of this...
drawing it out. I'm going to have Scar come in. Sorry to cut you off, but I think
Okay.
this might influence what you're going to say.
Okay.
So Scar was in the sitting room, like entryway,
Okay.
and at this point, when I cast the spell, I have him walk in, because essentially a direct gift from the Dark Lady when she told me her power was waning here.
Okay.
So he is to her. So I want him either in the room or as a conduit, I guess.
Okay. So you have to kind of maneuver some of the furniture around and stuff like that to make the divine sigils and things like that, to prepare the ritual. You guys notice Fade going into a pouch that you don't generally see him go into too much on his belt. But there's various different material components in there. And so you're sitting there and you're using this very fine, it looks like very fine black sand that he's using to draw shapes in. And there's other things that he's doing, and he's lighting some candles and things like that. And it's looking kind of weird, but it takes you roughly about, I believe, casting time is normally 1 action for commune, right?
It's a minute, either way.
Okay, so it takes him 11 minutes, because technically the ritual version is 10 minutes longer. So it takes him 11 minutes to perform everything, and then he kind of sits you guys down, and as you start to concentrate, something feels very, very wrong. With this being the first time you've ever cast a spell, you don't know if it's the spell or whatever. But as you sit there concentrating, you know the spell, you know the ritual components, you know what should be happening right now, and it's not. What would you like to do?
I would like to let everyone know what Serrated Death told me as far as what was going to be required of my assistants. And by assistants, I mean friends. And that Kata would be best served helping to maintain both Serrated Death and my institution during the project, and Avok, your physical specimen. And I think if the bellows are required to stay hot, I can't think of anyone better than you. And with that, that's like.
By the way, did you bring the shards of the weapon with you, or are they still in the forge?
I don't recall. I think I didn't say I grabbed them, but I would have. I would have let them out. Really.
So as you're kind of describing this, and you're still kind of confused as to why the spell didn't take, you do feel a slight kind of tugging from the shards of the weapon that are over by your armor.
Okay. I will, while talking, I mean, obviously, I've committed to this path, so if I'm getting a little holy inspiration, but I'm not going to stop talking and just reiterating how dangerous this is and how grateful I am for their help. And unfortunately, I don't know what to expect. but that's where we're at. And then I read the cloak with the shards.
Okay. So as you get there, you notice that the shards themselves are glowing this deep indigo. And as you open them up, they kind of rise on their own and float to various positions and sigils in the circle, and are floating about 2 feet above the ground in the circle now that you have created for this.
I kind of just hold my hands up and look at both of you, and she's obviously here watching us in one way or another. I don't know if she's going to help us tomorrow, but I have to do it.
So,
Yeah.
do you want to try invoking the spell again? Since you've done all the prep work.
Yeah, if it means rather than ritual casting, if I can give a little bit more oomph if I just channel it.
We're going to
do
treat
that.
this technically as the same ritual.
Okay.
Ava, Ava, like, can't believe he's deciding to do this, but he hands you the great axe. Maybe
Oh.
this will help whatever you're doing.
Baller idea. Okay. I will take that.
And as it touches your hand, you feel it warm to your touch, and you try and take it, and it doesn't move. It's like it's embedded in something, and as you let go, it stops and then just kind of floats in the very center of the circle. And then you guys all feel, it's almost as if I'm losing my voice. It's almost as if somebody was just slowly turning down the lights with an analog light switch, where it's just the light level starts to get lower and lower and lower. And as you guys are sitting there, you start to notice that the furniture and everything that you were sitting on is gone. And you guys are now standing in a circle of indigo light that's about roughly 10 foot in diameter. Outside this circle of light is darkness. Not just darkness, but a kind of darkness that almost feels tangible. A kind of darkness that you feel like if you went out and pressed your hand into it, you would come back with it dripping off of your limbs. Almost as if there's a sea of darkness around you being held at bay by this circle of indigo light.
I just motion as I go to take a knee. I just kind of hoping they get the message. I don't want to say anything.
Your god is really creepy, I'm just gonna say that.
So
Fine.
Faye takes a knee. Havok, Kata, what do you do?
I follow his example.
Okay.
Ivok hesitates a bit, but eventually relents. Oh, God, I hate this shit.
So as you guys are sitting there, you're hearing these whispers. My champion, Dianthangulio Tundumbia, Vira Foyakiam Yogundo, Volnianana Thua Yanga. You have contacted me. And this kind of whispering in a language none of you can understand continues. What do you ask of me?
I'm going to very quickly respond in game time, but I'm going to just ask a question in the form of a sentence, comma question. So I'm going to say, I've found the shards and I'm going to embark on creating your new weapon. Ask that you give me guidance, my friend's guidance, to survive this myself.
Now, one of the limitations of the spell that were aware of before the spell started, you get 3 questions. They are yes or no questions. So.
Okay. Will my friend survive this?
Uncertain.
Will I be able to help them during?
No.
Is this your will?
Yes. And with that, you guys hear the kind of weird whispering voices start getting louder and louder. And you guys can see the darkness around you is starting to move, and you can actually see shapes forming out of it, faces and bodies every so often that'll fade back in and come back out. And all at once, it stops. You guys hear this loud clattering sound as a great axe crashes to the floor, and this little tinkling sound as the shards of the former rapier just kind of hit the ground.
I mean, can I determine by what Sereda said to me that he wanted to start at dawn, or can I see if he wanted to get started like right away?
The conversation you had, this was going to be very taxing on you and on your party members. So I don't know if these were the actual words that I used, but the intention was get a good night's rest. Tomorrow's going to be rough.
Okay, I just wanted to see if I could let them sleep or not.
Yeah. The intention was come tomorrow prepared for something big. So.
Sure. Okay, then I will pick up Avok's axe and hand it to him irreverently, and pick up all the shards and refold them in the cloak. Well, that's a thing that I have to deal with. This is the course. It's not even a choice anymore. So I ask that you, if you have any questions, ask them to me. Other than that, rest, and I will prepare a hearty meal in the morning before we get started.
Anything you would recommend to just for me to prepare tomorrow?
So, yes, actually, I think that if you are able to control water, you may be able to assist in to be quenched and or cooling down, putting out fires if they should start. So, being able to control water might be beneficial to you. Other than that, I don't really know, but I assume healing magics would be best served to keep us as fresh as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So put in a lesser restoration and a cure wounds in your
Yeah.
stone if you don't already have it loaded. And other than that, I act as humbly as I can. For an Eladrin noble, that is not really a thing,
Yeah.
but
It's a
you're
new
starting
skill
to see it.
set. You're
Yeah.
slowly picking it up.
But yeah, that's it. I mean,
Okay.
first thing in the morning, I'm gonna create food and water and make sure there's
Ava,
plenty for-
Kata, any preparations you guys want to make the night before?
Think it's really not much Ava could really prepare. Just, hey, just be.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Just checking to see. Kata, anything you want to do?
I think I'm good. I just wanted to check to see what spells I would most likely need because
And you'll
probably the first time she's witnessed something like this.
yeah, that was weird. Avok, I think you've been through that experience once before, a long time ago.
at least one.
Is that
but-
when I died?
You weren't
It
there
might
for
have
that. Like you came back. No, it was Elaine, me, and I think Punch.
Yeah.
Avok was dead, and then yeah. But anyways,
So you've kind of experienced something similar to that before, but it was weird for you. For Kata, that was so far beyond the realm of your understanding. Again, you were transported to a different place you had never been. You had no idea what was going on. You heard these voices. Fade kept talking. Fade was talking really weird. Like none of you guys understood what Fade was saying while you guys were there. He sounded like the voices around as well, though slightly different. And if any of you happened to have a background in linguistics, you would have realized he was speaking a different language than the whispers around. But I don't think either of you do. So yeah, that was weird. That was really, really weird. You're used to dealing with magic, and for you, magic is this natural thing. You know, it's as natural as breathing for you, and you've never seen something like that happen with magic. That was super weird.
Yeah, I meant more specifically, this is the first time she's going to probably be seeing a forge, so she wanted to know what kind of spell she would need.
Yeah. So you were in the forge before, and you kind of walked past it, kind of watching him work. You saw him beating metal things with a hammer, putting them in the forge itself, and getting them very, very hot, then shaping them with a hammer and other tools. You notice that he has a lot more than just a hammer there. There's all these weird shaped things. You also saw pools of water in there. Some of them relatively large, like kind of watering trough almost in length. And you saw one fairly elongated pool of oil in there as well. You didn't see him using the oil just while you were kind of glancing through, but you did see him, you know, taking certain items, and after he was done beating them with one of the implements, he would dip it in the water, and then just huge bouts of steam would come off.
Okay.
So beyond that, again, forging is something that's slightly alien to you, just simply because even when you were a kid, you grew up around, you were, around wealthy people. They didn't spend a lot of time in forges. So, and then you were jungle girl. So, unfortunately, they don't have a whole lot of, there are not a whole lot of panthers that are sitting there forging their claws.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you guys get the effect of a long rest. Feel free, Kata and Fade, you guys get to choose your spells every morning. So feel free to choose whatever spells that you want for this morning. When you wake up, Fade kind of comes around, kind of awkwardly early, to get you guys up. And even before he kind of knocks on your doors and tries to wake you up, you smell warm food through your doors and things like that. And as you come out, he's kind of conjured some meats and fresh bread and looks like some form of like maybe scrambled eggs and bacon and stuff like that, and just a very large, very kind of hearty looking breakfast. Like this is not, light breakfast that, you have before you go on a jog. Like this is, preparing for leg day breakfast.
So I will invite you guys to the table, and as you sit down, I will, God, he will pour drinks and push them over to in front of you, and willingly, doesn't hate it, but he just has never done it before, so it's a weird thing. And then I'm going to
now, question for you, Fade.
Yeah, go.
You can create food and water.
Correct.
However, you do know there are other beverages that exist in this village place. You got up before everybody else, before pre-dawn. Did you just create water, or did you go out and get something slightly stronger or different for your morning meal?
I wouldn't have. I would have had Scar try to go get something.
Okay. What would you have told him to go get?
I've seen Avok drink a lot of crap and just be really interested in ale before, so I think probably that.
Okay. So,
I won't give it none.
He came back with a keg that was half full, and you heard shouting and things like that happen probably about 15 minutes before he came into the back room with the already tapped, half full. What are the size of, like, they have different sizes of casks. I know nothing about alcohol. Somebody tell me what the sizes of casks are, because he didn't get one of the big ones.
You can have a small one that's probably 10 inches diameter by a foot and a half long.
But it's probably you probably get what, like a dozen drinks out of that or something like that.
Yeah, that's more for wine, but
sure, we'll go with that. Again, with him having no real sense of taste anymore, he just grabbed what was available. You're not sure exactly how great it is. And obviously he grabbed something that was in use. So
yeah, for sure.
Half of it is gone.
Absolutely.
But there's enough, there's enough to have, something to drink with. So I'm assuming you pour Avok some of this ale.
Yeah, I'll pour him water and ale, and I'll give him both, and I'll pour water for Kat to give it to her, and I'll put some ale in the cup on the table, but I won't put it in front of her. And as I'm doing that, I'm gonna kind of walk around and pat each of them on the back, casting a lot of spells right now just to get them out of the way. And I'm going to Death Ward both of them.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Death Ward a concentration
It's a
spell?
duration
Actually,
knowledge.
I don't think so.
Nifty, cool. So you guys see Fade coming around, and as he grips your shoulder, you feel this energy kind of transfer from him into you, and it feels almost like you have this little pinprick of light in your chest that just is kind of sitting there.
That spell takes a lot out of Fade, so as he walks from one person to the other, he's kind of stagger steps and takes a deep breath and does
Eventually,
it again. And
without you asking, Scar comes over and kind of puts your arm over him and carries you back to your seat after you're done.
And that will be 2 of my 3 4th level spells, and I'm going to do the other one on myself right before we get started. But I think that's it. I don't have anything else to say to them. Just please eat up and meet me at the forge when you're done. And I'm just gonna slowly walk away with Scar's help.
Were you going to eat it all, or are you going in on an empty stomach?
I would have already eaten before
Okay.
they got up.
All right. So Fade walks out. You guys can see by kind of looking out your window, it's in that kind of pre-dawn gray now outside, where it's just barely starting to become light, but it is still very much the middle of the night. And dawn probably won't happen for another 30 minutes.
Alright, then. Well, can't turn this down.
Really good food. You just feel very much bolstered by it. Probably the best food you've had in a while, seeing as you guys have been roughing it on rations and things like good berries. So, this is real protein. This is bread. This is good stuff.
This is a meal.
That last meal always tastes the best. Can't understand why more people don't want to be a part of my games. It's weird. So you guys finish off your meal. Fade, at this point, it takes you a good 20, 30 minutes to eat and digest everything. Do you guys want to have a conversation? Because Fade is gone at this point. Do you guys want to have a conversation between each other before going in? Or do you guys want to leave for the forge right away?
I'm scared.
I've died once, so not really.
Once you've died once, I mean, everything is kind of old.
That
Hopefully we not let him die.
I don't intend on letting that son of a bitch die.
Because I gotta kill him.
All right. So you guys finish off breakfast. You head out to the forge. When you get there, you can see Fade himself has been stripped to the waist. You can see the serrated death taking charcoal and putting marks on his upper torso, on his arms, on his face. You notice that he's kind of wearing I guess the closest you could call it would be like a kilt type thing, where his legs are bare and then he has this kind of cloth covering, the important bits.
And my other DM will confirm that if I ask him.
And yeah, you notice that he's already starting to sweat, and miraculously enough, the charcoal is completely unaffected by the sweat itself. Like every mark that he makes is almost like it's tattooed onto Fade's skin. It looks so permanent. Which Kata, you've played with burnt sticks and stuff like that, which is basically charcoal. You've drawn with them. You know how it works. It is not water resistant at all. So that's kind of weird. And Avok, obviously, you've messed with charcoal before. You've used it for marking and things like that. So that's a little bit weird. But he kind of turns to acknowledge you, and the serrated death kind of gestures you in, and then he looks at Avok. Avok, if you would be kind enough to close the door behind you, this is something that is to be done away from prying eyes.
Alright. Shut the door.
Right. It is swelteringly hot. Avok, even you, with your higher than normal ability to deal with rough environments, even you feel a little bit uncomfortable in here. Kata, you are melting at this particular point in time. This is really, really hot. It's not fun. It's really humid in here. It smells like burning stuff. It's not fun, but you guys watch as a serrated death kind of clicks his mechanical arm, spins around, and you see the hammer that you found, that you spent all that time in that underwater city and almost had a face-to-face with the Kraken appear on the end of it. And he kind of brings you guys in closer, and he slams it onto the anvil, and it makes this kind of bizarre sound. Avok, you've been in forges before. For some odd reason, I just dropped everything. Did I just lose my internet connection? Hold, please.
I hear you, sir.
I still see ya.
Still seeing here you did.
Oh, my streaming went down for a second, which is why we record this locally and then upload from that. So you've been in forges before. You've heard hammers hit anvils. They're metallic. That's how it works. This sounds weird, almost pleasant. It has a tone, and it keeps ringing for a little while. Kata, you've never seen this before. It's very weird. But as he strikes the anvil the first time, parts of the anvil itself start to glow, and you start seeing shapes and things appearing on the side of the anvil. And you notice the hammer itself has started to glow. He slams it again, and more of these patterns and shapes appear on the anvil. The hammer itself starts radiating this field of energy that kind of passes through you guys, and you guys feel it pass over you, and you immediately feel just slightly lighter, like a weight has been lifted from you. And he slams it a third time, and with that, everything outside, it almost seems like everything outside of this room. What is going on? Sorry, I keep having these weird stream drops. It seems everything outside of the room just stops. Doesn't exist anymore. You guys and this room are the only things in existence. And the serrated death turns to you three and goes, "This is a secret ritual that has been passed down for millennia. I would prefer there be no prying eyes watching us. So as of right now, we are cut off from any sort of scrying or divining spells.
Okay.
This is going to be very difficult for your friend. But throughout all of it, he must remain standing. What you see here, his physical body, will seem to go through many bizarre changes, but what's happening to his spirit is far worse, and he will need your help for that. In addition, forging a weapon for the chosen of a god is not like forging a sword for an infantryman. It is much more taxing, takes much more power, it takes my very essence, as well as the essence of the champion infused into the weapon itself. This will be the first time I have tried this. I'm not quite sure how it will go, but my forge needs to remain hot. I need to be able to continue quenching. And my arm needs to continue hammering this into the shape it needs to be. However you can help with this, that is your decision. Fade, step forward.
I quick cast one last spell as I step forward.
Okay. Which is?
Using a third level slot, I'm going to cast Aid on all of us. All the three of us. 15 hit point max increase.
Okay.
That's it. I walk forward.
All right. So you see him, and you hadn't noticed this before, there is a very large bag on the other side of the anvil that you couldn't see while he was, giving you your henna tattoo. And he starts rifling through it, and you hear the sound of thick, heavy metal in there. And he comes out, and you see him straining with it. He comes out with this large, it looks almost like a medallion made out of this indigo metal. Kind of similar to what the rapier is made of, but not really. It looks much, much heavier. And you see a shackle on it. And he goes, extend your arm.
Well, yep, do it.
He sits there. He puts the shackle on. And you see him drive a rivet into the shackle. As opposed to like a pin or something that would normally be removed. No, he has now riveted this shackle to your arm. And it is one of the heaviest things you have ever held in your life. You immediately feel your arm sink a little bit. But kind of getting the idea, you raise your arm up. He goes back in. Takes out another one. Looks very similar with a similar shackle. Extend your other arm.
Jesus Christ. I cast Death Ward on him as well, and then put my arm forward.
And again, he clasps it to you, rivets it shut. It's painfully tight, incredibly heavy. To you, these feel like 50-pound weights, 100-pound weights. You have no idea how much they weigh. You can just feel them pulling your entire body downwards. And finally, he reaches in, and you see this symbol of the Dark Lady with chains coming off of it. And you go, step forward. And he sits there and he attaches this around your shoulders, around your back, and as he rivets that into place as well, you feel like the weight of this entire thing is close to 150 or 200 pounds that have just been laid on you. So now you're sitting there with your arms extended, trying to hold these items up. Because these items were forged by the Dark Lady herself. They have her essence imbued in them, and we will use that to help your spirit flow into this weapon, and to help her power flow into you. He turns around and goes, place your hands on my shoulders.
Without hesitation.
For this to work, you must never break contact. There is a shard inside of you of the Dark Lady's power. There is a shard of her very essence in this weapon. My job is to connect those two. If you break the connection, you will die. If you drop, fall down, or anything that prevents you from concentrating and controlling the force into me through my hammer, you will die. And the line of champions of the Dark Lady will die with you. Do you understand?
I look at both of them, and I do.
Then it is time for us to begin. And as he slams the hammer onto the forge one more time, you watch as the shards float out of the cloak they were wrapped in, come over and rest themselves in kind of a misshapen pile on the anvil. And you see him load them into a I can't remember what it's called. It's a big stone thing. You melt metal in it. Anyway, if Gil was here, he could tell us how the whole process works.
Was it?
A
Smelter.
Maybe, sure. That sounds right. Anyway, he loads them all into that, puts that into the fire, and goes, "We will begin." And with that fade, you are instantly gone. You guys watch Fade's eyes go completely this dark indigo color and actually glow. And you guys can watch his muscles strain under the weight of these items, and the symbols of the Dark Lady on them start to glow. And I'm actually going to start with Avok, because you're on the furthest left on my screen. So he's just put the pieces into the forge in this crucible smelter thing. It's in there. Avok, what do you want to do first?
Okay, let's heat things up. I'm gonna push down do the bellows thing.
Okay. Not a problem at all. Make me an athletics check.
Oh, with pleasure. Actually, I'm gonna rage before that. Let's give me some advantage.
Okay. So you guys watch as the heat starts getting to you and everything, and you can see what's happening with Fade.
Yes. First roll of the night, natural 20.
Not bad.
Yeah!
So you sit there, and as you press on these bellows, not only are the bellows themselves very, very large, and so they take a fair amount of strength, you can feel there's more to this than just heating. You can feel parts of yourself kind of going into the bellows, making the fire burn even hotter and hotter. And as you sit there, you can feel it kind of draining your strength. Your rage just grows and grows, almost in defiance of the idea that this mere bag of hot air could think to even attempt to best the mighty Avok. And so as you do that, you guys notice the temperature in the room increases even more, and you see the forge itself becomes white hot. We will come back to Fade, because you're in for a hell of a trip. Kata, you see Avok working the bellows like a madman. Literally a mad man.
How hot? It's just started. Not really much need for me to cast control water yet, right?
Thus far, all that's happened is the bellows have gotten hotter, and he's put the Serrated Death has put all the shards of the metal into the forge itself. So they have to, they have to melt together so that he can form them into what is going to be the item. So you can do nothing this turn if you want, or you can again. The room itself is getting hotter and hotter. For you, it's become very, very uncomfortable. You can see Fade himself has these massive weights all over him. And then obviously the Serrated Death has his own thing that he has to do. So if there's other things you'd like to do, you are welcome to do that as well. Or you can just kind of sit there and wait until you're needed.
Yeah, I'll probably sit on needed and
Okay.
possibly
All right, so Fade.
until Fade looks like he's starting to buckle, and then maybe I can try to support him.
Okay. Fade. You are no longer in the room. You don't know where you are. You're not in the circle of light. You start to hear strange sounds that you're not particularly familiar with at first. Then it starts to dawn on you. You're hearing the clash of metal against metal. You're hearing cries of rage and pain all around you. You see movement around you, but you can't really focus on anything. Your eyes won't adjust, almost as if you looked into a bright light for too long. And as you sit there blinking, trying to figure out what's going on, you are in the middle of a battlefield. All around you, there are creatures that you can't even tell what they are. Sometimes they look like humans and elves and dwarves and halflings battling it out, and then you look over again and they're tieflings and these other strange creatures you've never seen before with platinum hair and fine features, and then you'll look again and you'll see some that have tentacles for hair and others with fire for hair. And it's the same group of people, and every time you look around, you just see this battle raging all around you, and you are in kind of the eye of the storm. All around you, you see these people fighting. And as you look and you concentrate, they start to glow. Different ones will glow different colors, and you start seeing shapes appear among the glowing forms. Symbols start to appear over groups of them. You start recognizing some. You see the symbol of the wise sage in front, or on top of a team of 3 people that are casting powerful magics and weaving them into defensive barriers as they battle against another group of people with a symbol that you recognize because you saw it all over the lower city and on every battlefield you've ever visited. The gentle healer, the symbol of the gentle healer, is floating over this other group of people that are fighting back against the magic and beating back the spells and coming through with great maces and shields, trying to wear them down. You wander over and look at another group, and you see these people jumping around like they're insane, spinning and fighting with multiple weapons and attacking from multiple angles. And you see above them the symbol of the raging dervish. They're surrounding this group of people who all seem to be back to back, and they keep just barely dodging out of the way, and every so often you'll see them kind of twitch, and one of these people that's just going around like crazy madmen will jump back away, and you'll see this crimson energy just start spilling out of them. And over this kind of center group, you see the symbol of the cunning rascal. And you look over to another group, and they're sitting there with their large great swords and mauls, and they're coming through, and they're just bashing and trying to break down the barriers of these people. And you see above them the holy symbol of the valiant warrior. And you see the people sitting there being attacked and beaten by this are using arcane sigils and spells to create these shields and these barriers that are just barely holding them back. And over their head you can see the almighty Magus, the holy symbol of the almighty Magus. And then you look around, and you are no longer in the eye of the storm. There are people all around you. You see people coming towards you, and above their head, above the whole group, you can see the holy symbol of the guiding beacon. And they're brandishing weapons and coming towards you. And you see next to you a man dressed in clerical robes, holding a book and grasping his holy symbol on your left. To your right, you see a strong, tall creature, shield in one hand, sword in the other. On his shield is emblazoned a symbol that you have come to know and appreciate. And you standing between them, you see above your head the symbol of the Dark Lady, kind of highlighting all of you. And so as these warriors come towards you, The one in the robe starts concentrating and casting spells, and the one with the sword and shield immediately stands in front of you, holds his shield up, braces it with his sword, and digs down, preparing for a blow. What do you do?
Jesus Christ. Do I have my holy symbol with me?
As you look at yourself, you are naked on the battlefield. You have nothing on you whatsoever. You have no holy symbol. You have no weapons. You have no armor. You are simply there. But it seems like, again, the creature in armor has stepped directly in front of you. They obviously know you're there.
Sure.
And you feel strange. You feel as though you have a decision to make. And depending on what you decide, things may change. So as of right now, you have nothing. What would you like to do? You see what looks like the army of the guiding beacon coming closer and closer. You hear combat. The only symbol you have not seen anywhere around is the nurturing gardener. But other than that, every other holy symbol is represented here.
I will... God, he's going to take a hit for me. I don't like that. I will position myself to, I guess, if this was a combat situation, I'd be readying an action to attack after this guy takes a hit.
Okay.
So whoever hits him first, I'm going to try to counterattack.
So as you sit there, kind of focusing, you start noticing your hand feels heavier.
Oh, fuck that. No, I don't do any of that.
As you look down, since you've already said it, in your hand is a weapon. You can't tell what kind of a weapon it is, but it has weight to it, and you can feel power in it. And as you realize that you have this weapon in your hand, you hear this ear-shattering sound as a maul smashes into the solid metal of the shield of the person in front of you, and he's blown backwards a little bit, right past you, and without thinking, you come by and attack. And one of the attackers of the guiding beacon gets blown back by it, while the other person standing next to you sits there and touches you, and you feel mystical armor start to form around yourself. Not unlike, is it called Armor of Faith in this edition?
Shield of Faith.
Shield of Faith, there we go, Shield of Faith. Not unlike
yeah.
Shield of Faith, where this kind of mystical armor kind of forms around you. Back to the real world, you guys can see Fade his arms are starting to shake a little bit from the strength of holding together everything that's going on. Avok, you guys notice a serrated death sits there and takes the crucible. I think that's what it's called. It's a crucible. Or whatever the thing is, out, and he pours the molten metal onto the anvil. And you notice that outlines of a shape prevent the molten metal from going outside of the area that it's poured, almost as if he's pouring it into some sort of mystical, magical mold. So he does that. We go back to Avok. What do you want to do? You do notice that he is breathing very heavily. His eyes are completely indigo as well. His muscle movements and things like that don't seem deliberate. They seem almost as if he's being controlled by something else. The same is true of Fade. And you guys can now see this kind of indigo energy flowing from Fade into a serrated death. So we start with Avok. What do you want to do?
Okay.
Oh, before that happens, I would like everyone to roll me Constitution saving throws.
I knew it.
Balls.
Uh-oh.
Oh, thank God. That's a 26.
Okay, Avok, you, it is super hot in here, but you are pissed. Fade.
11.
11. You are starting to feel the rigors of this trial. It's starting to wear you a little bit, but you're fighting through it. Kata.
8?
It is really hot in here. You're starting to feel a little bit lightheaded. I'd like you to just mark down somewhere. You have one failure thus far. What that means, you will find out later. Fade, I would like you to make a strength saving throw.
Sure thing. Strength saving throw. Result 10.
Your arms are getting heavier and heavier. You guys can see his arms are starting to shake even more now. So now we go to Avok. What would you like to do?
Jesus. This is not helping. Conti may have to control that water earlier. Just take a little bit and splash it around us.
Gotcha.
And Avok goes and notices, that's not good. And tries to help lessen the weight on his arms, like, I don't know,
Okay.
support.
So kind of like shoulder up underneath his arms.
Yeah.
Okay. Make me a straight up strength check. And make it with disadvantage. Because it's a little bit it's an awkward thing. Oh, so make a
Fair.
flat.
I'm raging, so that cancels it out.
Yeah.
All right. Fuck.
So as you go over there, you try and hold up, and it's so hot that you slip a little bit, and it doesn't seem to be helping at all this turn, this particular point in time. You're not able to get to a point where you can actually get leverage enough to help him. Kata, what would you like to do?
First of all, was that point of exhaustion?
No, not a point of exhaustion. Just mark down that you have failed this check once.
Okay.
It's not a death save or anything like that. It's just this particular puzzle. The number of times you fail changes how things work. And the number of times you succeed changes how things work. This is completely custom.
I do what Avon says and start casting control water.
Okay.
And die.
Go ahead and make me a concentration check, just because of how hot it is.
Oh god. So with Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
16.
Yep. So you fight through kind of the pain, and you start noticing your skin itself feels grimy and just disgusting, and you sit there and you start pulling some of the water out of one of the barrels further away from the anvil, that you assume he's probably not going to be using that particular water for the quenching that you saw before. You have control over this water. What do you want to do with it?
I'm going to splash some that I got to play around everyone.
Okay.
To try to keep us all cool.
So you kind of water bend the water around. Avok, you feel this water just rush over you, kind of soaking you. But the water itself is not nearly as cold as you would like it. But just the fact that it's removing some of the grime and the grease, and it's removing some of the heat, you feel slightly better. You can't tell what effect that it's having on the Serrated Death or Fade, because again, they seem to be in another world. But as it rushes over you, your body temperature drops a little bit. You feel a little bit better. It's still unpleasantly warm in here, but you've removed a little bit of the heat from yourself, so you don't feel quite as kind of stifled by it. You return to Fade. You're on the battlefield. You have the man in robes to your left, the man in armor on one knee in front of you, holding his shield up. The blow from the maul has driven him down to his knees. You have struck a blow with the weapon itself, and you notice as you sit there, as you swing it like a sword, it elongates to a point and becomes more like a sword. You bring it back and grip it in two hands and swing it backwards, and it takes on the shape of a mace. And then as you pull it back and ready it like this, it comes to a point like the tip of a spear. What would you like to do with this kind of glowing energy weapon that continues to change in your hand?
Whoever this is, these guys are, they're helping me, so I can't.
And they have the symbol of the Dark Lady above them as well, so.
Sure. So I can't, in good faith, just let my team take hits. So I'm going to ready this, whatever energy that I have in my hands, and I'm going to try to prevent the next blow from landing. Like deflecting or parrying or something like that.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't want this guy in robes to get hit.
Okay. So as you sit there concentrating, you notice that the energy itself starts to flow over the back of your hand and kind of forms almost an arm guard style thing and starts to harden to the point where you can feel its weight. It feels hefty. It feels strong. It feels like something that could take a hit if needs be. And you position yourself in front, and this guy with a massive great axe comes over and strikes against you. And I would like you to make for me, I'm going to have you make an attack roll.
An attack roll?
Using your strength.
Sure.
Wow, I still roll like a god.
Oh dear.
Natural 20.
Hey!
So as he comes down, you see this massive great axe, and you're familiar with great axes. You know exactly how they work. And it's coming down on this man in robes who's doing his best to put up a protective barrier using his magic. and you come over and you stick your arm up and you hook it underneath the blade and stop it. Instead of stopping the blade itself, you lodge your arm guard in between the blade and the haft, and you stop the blow, and then you rip it, and you watch the battle axe, great axe, go flying behind you. The person in front of you standing there, now defenseless. The man next to you is still in armor, is still kind of starting to stand up a little bit to these bashes of the mauls, and the guy with the maul is attacking, but less so because you hit him previously. So there's this man in front of you, completely defenseless, or complete without a weapon, not defenseless. He's wearing armor and things like that. And it looks like he may have other weapons on him. Again, he's kind of keeps changing from a human to, a creature with fire for hair to a creature with wings to... It's just very strange. But he's standing there looking menacing at you. Do you have anything you would like to follow up?
And the attacking team is the guiding beacons guys?
The people that are attacking you right now have the symbol of the guiding beacon, whom you used to serve.
Okay. Yep. Knowing what we know now, that he is the reason what happened with the gods happened, I am going to try to follow up with like an uppercut. I want to take this guy's head off.
Okay. Make me an attack roll, but use your wisdom instead of your strength. You can still add your proficiency bonus, but make me a wisdom attack roll.
17 total.
17. Okay. Okay. So as you sit there, seeing this person, you see him start reaching behind to pull out something. You won't have it. As you start to bring forward, the gauntlet arm guard that you're wearing starts to elongate. And you see, as you bring it forward, parts of it move faster than your fist is moving. And 3 bits elongate out from this arm guard. And as you sit there and you thrust it in, you have these 3 kind of short sword looking items extending from this arm guard that have now impaled this creature in front of you. And you watch his eyes go wide, and then he flickers, and then he isn't there anymore. And so now you're standing there with this arm guard and claw, basically, with more people coming towards you. Back in the real world, you guys watch as the serrated death, the molten metal starts to move around almost on its own, starts to make a form. You see it elongate the entire length of the anvil, and you start noticing 3 protrusions from the top of it. You start seeing the rest of it kind of form the shape of like bracers or an arm guard, and you see the hammer come down on it once, and you guys feel the weight of that blow echo through the entire room, and you watch as the metal itself ripples and begins to start to harden. And I would like everyone to make me Constitution saving throws with advantage this time.
Okay.
So those are con?
Con, yes.
Do we have to get new D20s?
Avok, what you got?
16.
16. Okay. Fade.
13.
Okay. Katsa?
9?
Kata, I'd like you to mark down one more failure. Fade, I would like you to mark down a failure. Avok, it sucks to be in here. Like, it really does. It is super hot. It is super grimy. It's getting hard to breathe. And then Fade, I need a strength saving throw from you.
9.
Your arm starts to slip. In the dream world that you're in, you feel incredibly heavy. Your left arm falls limp. You guys watch as his hand starts to slip ever so slightly down the serrated death's back. It hasn't broken contact yet, but you see it inching closer and closer to the ground. Avok, you're up first.
Oh, shit. No. Get your hand back up on the shoulder, damn it. Yeah,
So-
I'm trying to make sure he stays fully connected.
Okay, go ahead and make another just straight up strength check. With,
No
again,
advantage.
No advantage.
Oh.
Again, it's an awkward position to be in because of how close and connected he is with the serrated death right now. Like, you have to kind of interpose yourself between two guys that are already really close. So, finding a point of leverage is weird.
Better this time, thank God. That's a 23.
23. So you sit there, and as you push up on his arm, you can't move it. You have no idea why, but this is the heaviest thing you have ever lifted in your life. However, it stops slipping down. And so you're sitting there, and you're bracing the entirety of your body underneath his arm. And whatever is on the end of this chain must weigh 1,000 pounds.
Oh, what the fuck?
But you've braced yourself, and you've got it, and the hand's not slipping anymore. It's not moving up right now, but it's not slipping. And that's, you know, to you, that's the important part. Kata, you see Fade is sweating profusely. He looks just absolutely exhausted at this point. You see the serrated death has slammed his hammer once. Sweat is just pouring off of him. What do you want to do?
More water on everyone.
Okay. So Avok, as you're sitting there holding it up, you feel again this rush of kind of not quite room temperature water hit you and wash some of the grime off, and your hair and everything is kind of dripping wet at this point. But again, it's a little bit refreshing. It's helping you a little bit. We go back to Fade. Fade, as you're standing there, you see the army coming towards you, getting larger and larger. And the symbol of the guiding beacon has started to grow brighter and brighter. And suddenly, the army itself vanishes. And all around you, they vanish. And you're standing toe-to-toe with a single creature. It's humanoid-ish. It's got 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But it's featureless. It's just golden energy. And you see the symbol of the guiding beacon slowly descend down and emblazon itself on the chest of this creature. And then you watch that symbol go kind of work its way through the creature, and then the creature holds its hand out, and in its hand this majestic greatsword appears with the holy symbol of the guiding beacon all along it. And as you look around, you're no longer on a battlefield. You're in a town. You've never seen this town before in your life. But there are people all around you. There are people holding wounds closed with bits of shirt, whatever they could find to help staunch the bleeding. There are other people that are starting to pick up just whatever they can find lying around to defend themselves. And then there's other people, children, cowering in corners crying as this humanoid figure starts walking, then kind of trotting, and he lifts the great sword up, bringing it to bear in a battle stance, starts running forward. You can see his momentum is fueling his power. You could see him glow even brighter. And again, you are kind of the only thing between him and the rest of this town. And with how fast he's moving, if you make the wrong decision and he decides to go in a different direction, there's no way you can stop him. So seeing people lying there bleeding, other people sitting there with broken chair legs and bar stools that they've turned into makeshift shields, and another group of women and children just kind of crying, waiting in a corner. Where do you want to go?
Without like taking my eyes off this guy, do I feel like I'm in my body? Do I feel like an Eladrin?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Then I'm going to look back on the lessons I've learned in the battles we've fought thus far, and I think back to the time when we fought a giant Venusaur, and I will Misty Step to this guy's back with my arms around him, and I want to put like my glove right underneath his neck and just push up.
I would like you to make me a grapple check. So it'll be your strength versus his either strength or your strength athletics versus his athletics or dexterity.
I rolled a 22.
Damn. So as you sit there and you realize that you can't save them all, that this guy is bigger than you, he's probably stronger than you, he's definitely faster than you. The only thing you can think to do is you tap into the innate magical abilities that are ingrained in your body, and you blink out of existence. And you've used Misty Step before. You kind of step away and you're disoriented for a little bit, and then you're in the new position. This is different. As you sit there and you step, you actually step like you're stepping into another world, and you see almost a second world that's laid on top of this town where everything is very similar, but time has stopped in this world. And you simply run over to where, and you can kind of see both worlds simultaneously. You kind of run over to where he is and bring your gauntlet up, and as you do, you feel yourself being pulled from this other world back to the one that you were in before. And you pull it up and you press the gauntlet up to his throat. It's at this point, as you grasp him, you realize that he is roughly about 12 feet tall.
Jesus.
So you're now hanging off of him, and he is made of metal. Like his actual skin is gold. And as you grab onto it and you try and thrust in, gold being a soft metal, whatever Whatever this gauntlet is made of is harder than gold. You sit there and press it in, and it starts to push through his throat, and you hear him howl in pain, and then searing fire envelops your body. It's almost as if his golden body has turned molten. And you... Where's my dice?
There. Oh, God.
You take 37 points of fire damage.
Fuck.
I do.
But you feel your gauntlet make purchase in this creature. And he falls down to one knee. And then his other knee. And then he falls face down onto the ground. You stand up with bits of molten gold dripping off you, leaving horrendous scars and burns on your naked body. But the creature is melting into a puddle of gold in front of you. In the real world, con saves from everybody with advantage again.
Sure.
I rolled the same number twice.
That's fun.
16 for me again.
All right, you're good?
16 for me as well.
Okay, you're good. Katsu, you still with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. What'd you get?
17.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Say it one more time.
17.
I think she said 17. It keeps cutting off the first part of it, so all I hear is teen. But I think you said 17, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. All right. So, you guys all make it. Avok and Kata, you watch. Fade, I need another strength saving throw with advantage, please.
13.
All right. Your other arm starts to drop a little bit. You can feel your strength in this form fading. Avok and Kata, you watch as burns appear all over Fade. His skin immediately starts to blister, and the blisters burst, and you can see blood flowing from them all across his front, all along his arms. Avok, with you holding them up, you feel this sudden wetness and smell, the smell of iron that is very familiar to you, having been on so many battlefields, and blood is dripping down your face and your chest as you are trying desperately to hold this arm up. You watch the other arm start to slip a little bit. Avok, what would you like to do?
Stop slipping, you stupid bastard. Keep the other arm in place.
Okay.
Pretty much. So, strength again?
Yep.
Alright. 19?
All right, so you're sitting there. Again, whatever this thing is heavier than you have ever felt in your entire life, but you are bracing the arm. This arm is not going to drop while you are standing there. However, it's starting to hurt now. You're starting to feel the weight of this thing. You're starting to feel small tears in your biceps and triceps as you're exerting them far much more than you really should be. You
This is
take
lifting like 10 bars before.
$18 points of force damage.
Wow.
As you start realizing you are not, again, you are an athlete. You are, your body is your weapon. You know how you're supposed to treat it. You know how you're not supposed to treat it. You are abusing your body right now, and you are starting to cause serious damage to it. Kata, you see, again, Fade is now bleeding. You can see Avok covered in Fade's blood. You hear him howl out in anger and rage. And you can see his arms themselves are starting, the muscles themselves are starting to ripple a little bit in a way you haven't seen before. But you can see the pain in Avok's eyes as he sits there just with all of his might holding this arm up. What do you want to do?
And would doing the control water thing take my action?
Yeah, that would be your action. You
Then
don't
I'm
have to
going
drop concentration on it, so you still have the control water spell, but rushing it over everybody, that would be your action.
Even like it's centered on one person.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you wanna control the water, that's gonna be your action. If you want to do something different, then that's gonna be your action. So you have to make the choice.
Okay. Yeah, I figured. I'm going to keep concentration on the spell, but instead I'm going to level Cure Wounds.
And who are you going to cast that on?
I'm going to cast it on Fade.
Okay. So you come over, and as you place your hands on him and start channeling the energy, go ahead and roll your healing.
Okay. 20 points healed.
Okay. Going back to the dream world, Fade. Your skin is blistered. You're bleeding heavily, but it seems like you've saved the town. You feel this kind of rush as all the exhaustion from the battle before and what you just did just hits you in a wave. And then you see, miraculously, your wounds start to close without you concentrating or anything. Kata, as you make contact with his back, you're not in the room anymore. You're not in the forge anymore. Avok, you watch as Kata's eyes glow this deep indigo that both the Serrated Death and Fade have been doing. As the Serrated Death picks up a chisel, and instead of striking the kind of arm guard claw thing shape on there, he strikes the chisel onto it, and you see runes start to form on the arm guard portion of this thing. Fade, as you're standing there, Kata is standing next to you, and she removes her hand as you see your wounds healing, and she's just kind of standing there. Kata, you're in the middle of a town you've never seen before. You can see some people bleeding, holding scraps of shirt and things to try and staunch the blood. You can see other people that are now putting down makeshift clubs and shields made from bar stools and chairs. And you can see a third group of women and children and the elderly just kind of standing in a corner crying. You see Fade in front of you, not wearing a whole lot. You can see the third-degree burns over most of his body, but you see some of it healing up. And you see this pool of gold in front of you. And before either of you can react, this pool of gold grows again, forms into something much more human-sized, with a sharp object at the end of it, and it slashes at Kata, cutting her very, very deeply. Fade, you see this happen, are powerless to stop it because of how quickly it happened, but you can react to it. How do you want to react? Kata is now on the ground. She's holding her chest. Blood is coming out. This creature is standing there, looking ready to strike another blow. What do you want to do?
My whole goal on this is to just get through this with these guys alive. So I'm going to try to not attack, but use the arm guard like I did on that first battle, block the next one, or take the hit.
Okay. So as you sit there, you step in front of Kata. Kata, you feel the sword cut into you, or the sharp thing. It's kind of sword-like. It's growing directly out of his arm. It's really weird. You feel it cut into you. You see yourself bleeding, but you don't feel any pain. And it's the most bizarre, strange experience you've ever had. You fall to the ground and let out a cry of pain, despite the fact that you're not in any pain, almost as if someone else is controlling you. And you see there your blood, something you haven't seen too many times, just flowing out of you. But you don't feel the kind of lightheadedness you get from blood loss. And this whole thing just seems very bizarre. And then you watch as Fade steps in front of you, and this blow starts to come down, and he brings up this strange gauntlet you've never seen before. Fade, I'd like you to make me an attack roll using your wisdom instead of your strength.
19.
Cool. I still roll like a god. Fade, as you sit there and you bring it up, you feel the weight of this blow hit on there, and whatever this arm guard is made of, it seems unbreakable. It seems unscratchable. It seems completely immune to this weapon. The force of the blow, however, goes through it into your arms, and you feel a relatively familiar feeling as your arm breaks inside of it.
God.
However, despite the pain, the agony that you're going through, you hold the arm guard up with a broken arm and slowly force it up. And you catch it right here, and you slowly force it up, and you start twisting it. And the blade itself is just being pressed down as hard as it can, getting more and more painful every time you move, but you're not letting it stop you. And you slowly turn the blade to the side, and you twist it, and you catch the blade in two of the claws, and you twist it more. And you can see he's now gone from attempting to just blow straight through you to prevent the claws from coming any nearer to him, as you have his blade trapped, and all of his strength of this golden creature is being used to try and stop this gauntlet from going into him. And as you sit there with his blade completely under your control, you see Kata on the floor bleeding out. You see the rest of the town looking hopeful as this creature, theoretically, you might be able to kill it, but you also have Kata there bleeding out. What would you like to do? The weapon is completely under your control. You've trapped it between two of the three, and you're slowly moving the claw towards him to basically pierce him again through where, were he a human, his heart would be.
So, fuck. I'm going to if I have control of his weapon, I'm going to broken arm and all. I'm going to just try to wrench it and him, and just try to drag him as far away from Kata as I can. And I mean, I'm not gonna attack him. I'm going to
You
seeing
get a
Kata.
you get a very strong feeling with how much blood is flowing out of her.
Yeah.
She's not going to survive very long.
Yeah.
But this creature is dangerous. If you kind of have the choice between save the cheerleader, save the world. Kata's there, the entire village is there. And you right now have control of the situation. You get to choose what happens next. You have complete control.
Sure. I'm going to do this. I'm a cleric. I have cleric spells and abilities that I've trained with my entire adult Ladrin life. Loose sword. I'm going to try to just push him or the sword away and reach back, spare the dying Kata, and Jesus, this is so dumb. And at the same time, I'm going to pray with for my spiritual weapon, which has recently become Avok's battle axe. And I'm going to have it slice down on this guy's arm off with it while healing Kata.
Make the attack roll you would normally make with a spiritual weapon.
18 to hit.
Okay. So you sit there, you twist your wrist, you feel your wrist snap as you do this. The pain is immeasurable. But as you twist it, the blade goes flying away from the people. And as soon as that happens, you turn around and place your hand on Kata's stomach. And you watch her kind of smile and just kind of drift into unconsciousness as the blood stops flowing out from her. Kata, you're awake, but your eyes start to close, and you smile, and you lay down, and you start breathing very deeply, as if you were falling asleep. Again, almost like you're a puppet in a puppet show. But you feel very relaxed. And as that happens, everything goes dark. Kata, you're back in the forge, and you see, with a final mighty strike, the serrated death slams his hammer onto this thing, and you guys hear this thunderous sound as the forge itself extinguishes instantly. All energy and heat into the room are infused into this gauntlet claw thing. And Kata, you fall down exhausted. Avok, you are blown back by the impact of this. And you see the serrated death just sitting there, doing nothing at this point, his eyes still glazed over. Fade, you're in a familiar place. Around you is darkness, thick enough that it almost feels like if you were to press your hand into it, it would come away dripping off of you. There's a 10-foot in diameter circle of light. And around here, around you, you hear voices. And from the darkness, a woman steps forward. incredibly beautiful. You feel a tear fall down your cheek. She's so beautiful, she has instantly brought you to tears, and you feel your heart ache. She's dressed in an elegant gown made of dark indigo satin with platinum accents throughout it. And upon her head she wears a tiara. It seems to be made of ivory or something along that line. You can't really tell from here, but it's white, and it's in the shape of a skull. And you are completely exhausted. You can feel the blisters on your skin still hurting, the ones that Kata wasn't able to heal. You can feel your right arm is limp at your side from broken bones and a broken wrist. And as this woman walks forward, she very gingerly takes your broken hand and lifts you to your feet. And from inside this very elegant dress, there are kind of folds and ruffles of fabric. And from within one of those ruffles of fabric, she produces the gauntlet that you had been wearing previously. And she takes the sharp point of it and slices her hand and places her hand on your chest, still wearing nothing in front of this woman. And as she does this, you see this handprint form in her blood on your chest, burned through the blisters, through the pain and the sorrow and everything, almost burned directly onto your soul. And as she takes it away, you can see this energy, kind of as if you'd cast Detect Magic. You can see this energy now tethering that point on your chest to her hand. And as she walks backwards, back into the darkness, that tether remains. The room itself gets a lot brighter. You watch as the serrated death falls backwards. His eyes are no longer glowing. And he collapses in a pile on the floor. You guys see Fade kind of shake his head. Avox, since you've been holding his arm up, you feel the entirety of his weight fall on you. Which now, before, again, you're trying to hold up one arm and you couldn't move it. Now, you've got like 300 pounds of Eladrin and metal falling onto you. But you've carried more.
Ouch.
It's uncomfortable. It's not something you can't deal with. Fade, as you fall, the rivets in the chains on your wrist burst, and they hit the floor, and the rivets that are holding this thing around your chest burst, and it hits the ground. And you are exhausted, and you realize that Avok has basically kind of shoulder carried you. He's got one of your arms around his shoulder, and he's the only thing that's keeping you from hitting the floor right now. You look over and you see Kata, who keeps kind of looking down at her stomach and then looking back up, and and feeling it and just kind of looking around like she's confused. But other than that, looks fine. Other than she is, her hair is about 3 shades darker than it normally is from all the soot, and she is covered in grease. As is everyone. Like, everyone just looks like they are covered in soot and grease and muck. They just look disgusting.
We need a bath.
And as you sit there, your eyes are drawn to the anvil where sitting on it is this arm guard gauntlet thing that you saw in your vision. And in it are emblazed this a rune. You don't know what the rune means. You think you're probably going to have to take a little bit of time to attune to this new item to be able to figure out what it is. But on the back of the gauntlet itself, where your hand would be, is the symbol of the Dark Lady. And it's made entirely out of that indigo metal that you saw the rapier was made of.
Okay. Avox got my entire weight, right? Like, I can't stand at all.
Your strength is slowly starting to return, but you are spent and you hurt really, really bad. You notice your arm isn't broken like it was before. You're not sure if it ever was, but it hurts like a bitch.
I take that arm and kind of like try to brace myself on Avok, and I reach for Kata and try to grab her. Are you okay?
Then better.
And I think, like, I try to steady myself, and I like let go of Avok, and I reach for the gauntlet, grab it, and then just collapse to the ground.
As soon as you touch it, time seems to stop. You're still in the same place you were, but Avok's not moving, Kata's not moving. The serrated death is, and that's really weird. And you see him kind of setting himself and just sit down. And in the room, right next to you, is that beautiful woman that you just saw. And she turns to you, or she turns to the serrated death first, and kind of gives a slight bow and goes, "Your role in this particular task has been accomplished, Smith of the Gods. Remember, yours is not to choose a side. Yours is to serve us all." You see him sit there. "Yes, I understand. Though I brings me no pleasure to do that. I understand." And then she turns to you. "My champion, I can again communicate with you, though with what is happening, I cannot guarantee this communication will continue unbidden. On this day, your very essence has changed. You started this journey giving of yourself to be a conduit of my power. Today that changes. You are no longer the conduit. You are my right arm. with this new responsibility will require new skills, a new way of thinking, of doing things. But you are strong and you are powerful. And I believe in you. Much pain is about to be visited upon you. But know that as my right arm, I will be there for you. And then time starts again. You're still a little bit shaky, but you can pick this up. It's remarkably light for what it is. You've never really quite felt a metal because you can feel it, and it's solid. It's very, very solid. But it's remarkably light and is perfectly tailored to your arm. There's a bar in the gauntlet itself that you kind of fit your hand around and you curl your fingers under, and it feels really good on your arm. And as you sit there kind of looking at it, you guys suddenly realize you can hear things from outside the room. You guys are no longer in your own little dimension here, and something is going on outside. There's yelling, it sounds like people are running around and things like that. You're not really sure what's going on. What do you guys want to do?
Try it's standing on my feet. What's going on?
You see the Serrated Death. I have no idea. The people here are nuts. They're fighting the Eladrin, and then randomly they will do things like this. Someone open the damn door and tell them to shut up. And you see him just kind of lean backwards, completely drained of all energy.
Ava collapses on his back and just shows, I am sore as fuck.
Right, so you guys hear the commotion getting louder and louder, and eventually you hear dum, dum, dum on the door itself.
I stand up and I put this gauntlet on.
Mm-hmm.
I know I need to tune or whatever, but I put it on and I look at Kata,
it's still a sharp, pointy thing, and an arm guard. So
exactly. So I'm gonna.
It also gives me time to actually figure out what's going to do.
Reach down to Avok and kind of give him the hero's handshake to pull him up. And
while you're doing that again, excuse me, Avok, you instantly recognize the voice as Solenye. Avok, are you in there?
Yeah, I'm coming. Let me just get the fucking door.
Dear God. Can't get you to do anything. It's the early part of the morning. You're already tired. What in the world? And she's saying all of this through the door. She just has one of those voices that carries. It's one of the more defining features of her that you remember.
So, please, come on. It's been
I need you all out here. Something has happened. I need you here now. Where are your friends? Open this door. I'm not going to speak to a door all day.
Ava opens the door, so shut up.
And she sits there and just kind of grabs you by whatever it is you are wearing. Do you do you wear like a harness or anything? Are you like bare chested all the time? Describe Avok for me.
I guess in a similar fashion to Grog, mostly shirtless.
So she grabs the few bits of clothing that you do wear, like fur shoulders or whatever, and yanks you out. Sees Fade and Kata and go, "Well, come along as well. This involves you too." And she just kind of drags you down to the beach, where you guys can hear this chattering happening, and all of these words coming out very, 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 very fast, much faster than you think should be possible, because as you look, no one you can see is talking. The voice itself is coming from inside the crowd, and it's a single voice that is just talking a mile a minute, going as fast as physically possible, and you can't see anyone there.
What's going on, people?
And as you get closer and Soligny kind of pushes through the crowd, you see a short gnome. Willow, describe yourself. I believe you are muted.
Gosh, she's muted.
Well, I cannot hear you, so...
I can't hear you, sweetie. What happened to your audio?
Do you know sign language?
That's
Try muting and unmuting yourself in the thingy-ma-thing. I got nothing. This is hilarious.
yeah, I'm still not hearing anything. I can hear you in the other room, but it still doesn't help.
Did you mute yourself at one point?
Unplug your headphone jack. You did.
And again.
Yeah. Do you wanna hang up and reconnect real quick?
Can you hear me any better now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Wow.
What
All right.
happened?
So
I just switched it to the built-in microphone, so we're just gonna use that for right now and hope it works.
okay.
There we go.
All right.
Okay.
So Will is about 3 feet tall, has brown hair with streaks of gray. She's a bit older for a gnome, and she looks very, very frantic. Kind of tattered clothes at this point. It's clear she's been traveling for a little while, and yeah, a little bit anxious.
All right, so you see this short gnome just speaking a mile a minute, and you can see some of the kind of leaders of the various groups in the village sitting there just looking at her like she's nuts. You can see the captain is there, and he has archers on his ship trained on her. You don't know where she came from, because if the archers are trained on her, that means she didn't come on the ship, and the only way into this place you know of is on the ship or swimming or something, and gnomes are not known for their epic swimming abilities. So as they get closer, Willow, you see you see a human, really big human with a battle axe hanging on his back, and then you see a smaller human girl dressed in furs kind of walking very, very lightly, almost prancing towards you. And then behind them you see an Eladrin with runes all over his skin that are starting to kind of melt off now, because the ritual being over, it's charcoal, you're sweating it off, and you see an Eladrin walking towards you. What would you like to do?
As soon as I see the Eladrin, I immediately shut up and just look around, kind of take stock of what's happening, and I need to speak to whoever is in charge. I've been traveling for a long time, a long distance, and I need to speak to whoever is in charge. This is incredibly important for all of your safety.
That's absolutely lovely, dear. and you see this wood elven woman step forward, wearing leather armor, longbow across her shoulders. That's absolutely lovely, dear, but you see, no one knows where we are, and the fact that you have shown up on our shores for any reason is rather upsetting to us. So perhaps you can tell us, first of all, how do you know where we are? And you hear from behind her the familiar sound of bowstrings being drawn back, and you can see she has archers placed in various areas, all of which are aiming at you.
I'm just going to assume for the traveling purposes that I've been casting mage armor on myself every single day, just in case.
Okay, that's fine.
With
the sheer number of arrows that might be flying
yeah,
at
no,
you,
it wouldn't matter.
it's not going to matter that much, but sure.
No.
You've got little
Yeah.
mystical shoulder pads on and elbow and knee pads.
Sure.
So if you trip and fall, you might not bump your knee.
Ah, that's adorable.
Yeah, she tries to ignore that, and just looks around and says, "Please, I need someone to believe me. The Eladrin know where you are."
What?
Is that check?
I just came from the Platinum City. I need to speak to whoever's in charge. I have really important information.
And she kind of cuts you off. She goes, I am the person you're going to speak to. These are my hunters. Those are my trackers. These are my people. You will speak to me, and you will tell me how the Eladrin know of this place. Who has revealed our location?
That I don't know. All I know is that someone named Aethwin knows that you're here.
Oh my fucking... God damn it, Fade! You should have chucked that fucking thing a long time ago.
And Soligny turns and goes, what are you talking about? Who's Aethwin? What?
I go into my room and run back to get that coin.
So that'll take you 5 minutes-ish.
Yeah.
While that's happening, I have no idea who this Aethwin is, but you are the person we see here. Not this Aethwin, not an Eladrin armada. We have patrols and hunters and stalkers that guard the entrance to this cove. We have not seen an uptake of Eladrin ships in the area. There's nothing to support your claim. You might as well tell us that the Earth has started flying. And as you say that, she kind of looks at you, and you've seen this look once before. It's not a good look.
Yeah, I know that look. Yeah.
You get the idea that you're gonna pay for that later. But she goes, "Fine, Avok. What do you have to say?"
Unfortunately, we've been bugged for quite some time because a certain idiot who we traveled with forgot to chuck it away.
Wait a minute. And she comes closer to you, and she kind of checks you into the wall of a nearby building with a strength that you haven't seen in her before.
Izzy, I'm sore as hell, woman.
Are you telling me that you have betrayed us?
No, No. Hey. Come on.
You carry an item that could lead them directly to us. And then she spins, and she goes, "Archers, to your positions. Captain, bring the ship around. Ready the ballistay. Ready for an attack. They're coming."
It won't matter.
And she
They're
turns
not
back to
coming
you.
how you think.
Really? And we are supposed to believe a little gnome. I know of your
Yes.
people. I know what they do. I know they serve as pets for the Eladrin. I know that you keep their flying city floating. I know what you do for them. You are no better than the Eladrin in my eyes. And because of that, I have no reason to trust a word that comes out of your mouth. The only reason I have not riddled you with arrows is you might be slightly useful to me at one point.
I've been told that many times.
So she goes back to barking orders. This is when Fade comes back. Willow, you instantly recognize the stone that he's holding. And I'd like you to make a wisdom saving throw for me, please.
21.
All right, you instantly feel this rush of terror seeing that, because the last time you saw that, you were completely unable to control anything that you did. You were enslaved both in body and mind. And so seeing another one of these stones instantly triggers that memory. But you fight it off enough so that you can think and you can act, but that stone is terrifying to you. So Fade, you've come back. Do you still have the gauntlet with you, or do you leave it in your room?
Yeah, I got it on.
Okay. And you have the stone with you. You notice the stone itself is hot to the touch. Before it was just kind of warm. It is now hot, and it is not changing temperature. It is simply hot.
What is that? I've only seen one before.
That little gnome is the reason we're in this shit right now. Avok takes his great axe and he's gonna swing right down and cut that thing in half.
I will have it in the gauntleted hand, and
I
aim
thought
it
you
so that
dropped
the axe
it.
hits it. Nah, fuck that.
He's-
I want this glove can't get fucked up. I want you to cut through this stone into the glove.
So as the axe starts to come down, you hear in your head, well, certainly nice of you to lay out the welcoming mat for me.
Oh,
And this is something only Fade hears. Thank you so much for gathering them all in one place. This will be much, much easier. Obviously, you've held up your side of the bargain, so if you kill your friends now, you will be forgiven. And as that happens, you feel this weight hit the stone, and as the axe cuts into it, the stone itself seems unharmed. Abok, as you hit it, you feel a recoil in the axe, like you've just struck like a wall or something. And Fade, your arm hurts super bad right now.
Look, I don't know what you're doing or why, but we don't have much time. I've been gone for a week, and they're probably on their way.
How will they arrive? I booming voice.
And as you say that, you hear, well, I guess you're not going to keep our deal, are you? It's a pity. I certainly could have used another cleric. And then you hear an explosion from above you, and the canopy above you bursts into flames. And as you guys look up, you see what looks like the bottom of these kind of purplish metal ships is the best way to describe them. You can see they have a sail on them, but they are 200 to 300 feet in the air. And Fade and Avok, make me history checks real quick.
Oh, you have got to be fucking kidding me. They built those? That's a 12.
What did they build? A Zeppelin?
Pretty much.
15.
Okay. Avok, what'd you get on your history check?
12.
So you don't really recognize it. Fade, you recognize the material that the sails are made out of because it burned around you. Those are made of the same silk that was given to you by those spiders that you found in that tower that Avok burnt to the ground and then did that really awesome running down the building carrying, I think, 2 people.
Yep.
Ah, that was a good time.
So these things have spider silk sails and some sort of device in them. But again, they're 200-300 feet up in the air. They're really, really hard to see, even for your keen Eladrin vision. And you see these streaks of red descending and then exploding from Eladrin that are standing on the bows of these ships, just pointing wands and staffs down and raining fire and destruction down. And that is where we are going to end it for tonight. Super sorry for keeping you waiting so long, Willow. They had to get through that whole forging thing. But yeah, so that's what's happened, and we'll pick this up again in 2 weeks. Again, my name is Trainer Jody. If you guys enjoyed what you're watching here, I do run D&D games every Tuesday night here on twitch.tv/Trainer Jody. So feel free to follow me here. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Trainer Jody there. And I also, if you missed any part of this or you want to see a couple of these guys have actually been playing together for over 2 years. So this is a very long campaign. We've been working really, really hard at it, and these guys have been really proud of what they've been able to accomplish. So if you want to see every episode all the way back to the beginning, it's on youtube.com/TrainerJody. I'll have this one uploaded as soon as I have the ability to. Otherwise, starting September the 30th and going every other Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time, I will actually be partnering up with Zelda Universe, and I will be running a Zelda tabletop RPG for them. So if you want to check that out, that'll be every other Saturday starting on September the 30th at Zelda Universe TV, twitch.tv/Zelda Universe TV. So yes, I DM a lot of different things. The Zelda game will be doing Open Legend. Here I run D&D stuff, so all that other stuff. Thank you so much to everybody that watched. Thank you for the players for going through that kind of a gauntlet of a crazy, crazy episode. And I will see you guys next time, all right? Bye-bye.